Booyah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of We Them Niggas. Today, we're out here at ETH Denver, 2024, the year of the buffercorn or something like that. And we're here with Carlos. Carlos, OG DAO fanatic is the description he just gave to me. You want to introduce yourself, Carlos?
Yeah, so my name is Carlos. I'm from Cape Verde Islands, currently based in New York. I'm a founder of a company called Forefront. I see ourselves as a product, on-chain product studio. So we do a lot of experiment in media and social graph into like the world of on-chain world. Yeah.
Very cool. And this is your first crypto conference, you said to me? Your first conference?
Yeah.
And
Ever.
Ever. And how's the conference been? So how's the vibes been?
Yeah, so it's very interesting because I've been in the space for a while, and it's weird because like most of my friends are actually like online friends, like people that I work with every day, people that I've come across in my journey, and I made it a mission so that I make it to a crypto conference so I can meet most of those friends, and just the bond that just meeting them in real life that we have is just for me is the best part of it. Yeah, and that's like individual people, like people that I talk to every day, but also communities, right? So yeah, it's been amazing. Like yeah.
I'm happy to hear that. And when you look at, I know you were talking to me a little before the interview about how community is so important to you. How do you see like community and crypto being related? I feel like for a lot of people, they think of crypto or this technology, and it's like, oh, this is money stuff. Like, is that the Bitcoin or the Dogecoin? Like, I feel like they don't really have they don't see meaningful social relationships being formed around this technology.
Yeah. So communities are keys to internet like for a very long time. You look at Reddit, you look at like Facebook, you look at all the social medias. Being able to sort of be part of like a group that share the same vision as you has been always something very important people find dearly. And now we have Web3, right, that can sort of like create a better and a safer way for us to connect online, right? There is a world where like social and financial sort of like merging with crypto. So people not only they are sort of like, jamming and making friends and doing awesome things, together. They also can be part of like a potential upside, right? They can contribute sort of like, collect things online as a group. They can sort of like, change the world like in a way that they see fit using like crypto rails in terms of like the financial rails as well. And, in a world where like attention is pretty much everything, right? Just building meaningful connection, it's what matters at the end of the day, at least for me. Obviously, like this isn't possible without having proper infrastructure for crypto to sort of like flourish for adoption. But I think culture and community are arguably one of the most important. Like it's like so what brings soul to everything we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I would absolutely agree. I feel like my getting into the space was entirely like I feel like it was way more fluid because I was in a Web3 community. Like whether my roommate got me in a Shark DAO at one point, and they just being in the Discord room to ask questions was helpful, and then going to Water and Music, which I shared with you earlier about. I feel like being in space where people are already in the know and kind of happy to. I feel like there's a culture almost of teaching as you go in crypto.
Yep.
And I feel like it's like finding communities where that culture can contribute to me and where I can contribute as well. I think it's really made a huge difference for me in getting to where I am. Even like being here doing this.
Yeah.
Like shout out to FWB for people, supporting the project and giving us money to be out here.
Yeah. Shout out FWB. Like it's an OG DAO. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to hear about like what communities were core in your Web3 journey so far, and like what do you feel like you take from those communities into how you approach looking at like what the future of the space should look like and can look like.
Yeah. I think like crypto is such it's very new and it's a weird place. There's a lot of like buzzwords that are going around, but I think the core of it is just people that are truly excited about the innovation that this technology can bring. And for me specifically, the early days of social tokens was like, one of the most interesting, part of my journey, right?
And so describe the early days of social tokens, like for people that don't know what that is or like what that looks like. What is a social token?
Yeah, right. So social tokens are like type of creator tokens, or like, some sort of like utility token that you can sort of like use to enable some sort of interaction with your friends or people that, community you're part of, right? So for me specifically, like I've always been a creator, like, I build stuff that I want to see in the world. I do a lot of experiments. And I wanted to find a way that I could incentivize people to sort of like give me feedback and even use the product I was building. So I came across a platform called Roll. They had this idea of like you could mint a creator token. I was immediately hooked. I wanted to have my own social tokens and just give it out to people that use the product. Like the most, like I ship something and you use it, you get rewarded for using the product. That was just me sort of like diving into the space, trying to understand. And then I sort of like met other people that were doing the same thing, right? So like Brian Flynn from Rabbit Hole, he had his own social tokens around writing. He is sort of like articulating, trends and predictions that he sees, and he wanted to sort of like experiment at that end as well. Alex Masmesh from Showtime, now Dracula, had his own social token as well. So we came together to form a group called Seed Club to sort of like figure out like what's the best standard and way to sort of like experiment with this new technology, this new sort of like idea, right? And that by far was one of the most interesting experience because it was just very fun. It was very like, go into the blind and see what works, what doesn't work. And, those people end up, everyone, one of us end up building their own vision of the future, which is the most exciting part. Yeah.
That's cool. And so so how involved are you now in Seed Club? And
Yeah.
like for people who don't know even what Seed Club is, what is Seed Club?
Yeah. Well, Seed Club came up with this idea of like, what's the best way to sort of like launch social token, to sort of like build utility around it and figure out what's the best way to do it, standard. So it sort of emerged as an early incubator, right? So we see as like, we used to call it like Web3 Y Combinator, right? So it was an early incubator for, experiments around that, right? Which is now like social token, which is like consumer crypto. So was early involved in that. Then sort of like moved into other experiments as well. But yeah, so like I think if you are in consumer crypto, if you're interested in Web3 social, you should definitely check like Seed Club. They're incubating a lot of interesting products. And then I ended up funding a company called Forefront as well. That we sort of like really, if you go to our website, forefront.market, you can see like what I call like archive of like sort of like exploration, right? So you have articles written by like Cooper Tooper, for example, early adopters of technology about like what the future would look like for social tokens, and this was back in 2019. So did my own experiment on that end as well. But yeah, yes, it's been fun.
And what's top of mind right now for Forefront? Like what is like the 2024 look like for you? What's your focus?
Yeah, I think like probably like just being honest with where the space is today. I think how we evolved as a brand, how we sort of like explored at literally the forefront of this new innovation. We always struggle with distribution. I think that was one of the biggest problems with Forefront. We wanted to ship products that but we got as much feedback as possible. They had some sort of loop into that as well. And I'm excited to sort of like explore this idea of like just building products on top of social, right? And that social I'm extremely excited about Farcaster because it provides a distribution platform that we've never had before to experiment with. But probably the most interesting thing about Farcaster is really social graph. How can you build on top of what's happening there without sort of like building your own distribution channel, right? And then eventually sort of like making meaningful connection between internet friends and building clients and protocols and product that actually is useful. People are using them and it's sort of like fixing some of the real life problems, I would say. Yeah.
How do you think about social impact in this space? Like how does it pertain to our politics? How does it pertain to quality of life? Like I guess outside of like consumer crypto, outside of like our consumerism,
Of course.
like what do you think is compelling about this space for you personally?
Yeah, right. So like we all know like the issues with social media, right? In terms of like ownership of the value that you create. So I always believe in that future that you should be rewarded for for what you put in the world. The energy you put back in the world, it should come back to you eventually. So I mean, a common issue is like on Instagram, on TikTok, you have people but for some reason, for their own policy, getting banned. They built sort of like their distribution graph there. They built their community there, and then like just for some reason, Instagram, they have all the power to take that away, right? So I'm excited about crypto providing new sets of tools that allows those creators to sort of like own their graph, incentivize their community, distribute ownership of the value the community creates for them. Yeah, I think we're going to definitely a better world where we sort of like retain the value we create in the world, and I think crypto provides a tool to do that. And we're so early, obviously, a lot to figure out. It's not perfect, but yeah, that's one part of just being in a journey is very fulfilling as well. Just innovating at the forefront of what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, hence the name, forefront.
Yeah. I keep going back. That's the goal for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's important, because even as I look at like this project within media, like I feel like something I recognize that in the U.S. I don't really see like Black-owned media companies focused on politics or just like quality of life and the concerns and interests. And so I feel like when it comes to things like the presidential election, you see like people are talking to us, but they're not like talking to us like about our like existing concerns and interests.
Yeah.
And so I'm really interested in like using this platform as a way to like explore what those things are and how Web3 can pertain to them.
Yeah.
And really not just that, but really going back out of Web3 into like the social world work, social work world.
Yeah.
How do nonprofits pertain to us? Even looking at like Gitcoin, like this whole public goods decentralized conversation.
Yes.
Like I think all that stuff's super exciting to me, and ideally we're also on the forefront. So I'm excited to have done this interview with you, and look forward to having you back time in the future. And
yeah, for sure. And I appreciate like the time, obviously, and it's amazing to have people with conviction and actually doing the work. And I'm very bullish on what you're doing, obviously, and if there is any ways that I can help along the journey as well, because in the end of the day, it's just about the journey, right? Just learn as much as you can and figure out things together as a community. I think is extremely important, and I feel it very very much because I come from a small nation, right? And we don't have a crypto presence yet. So most of the time when I'm building something new, it feels very like I'm on my own, so to speak, right? But I'm happy to see like more people get involved and like people from nations are not developed that have access all to finance and things like that. I appreciate the time, obviously, and wish you best of luck with your adventure.
I appreciate that, and I guess the question I wanted to ask was in this vein of you talking about Cape Verde, how do you see yourself giving back to Cape Verde, or looking at like trying to bring more people into this space or increase awareness? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I actually have a plan, a project that I'm working right now. It's called ETH Cape Verde. I want to organize a conference of Ethereum conference in Cape Verde. Yeah. So that's the idea, and I think the best way that
Alpha.
Yeah, that's Alpha right there. Yeah, we do have a Twitter account, so you want to check it out. So I'm working with Cape Verde government digital economy department to sort of like bring Ethereum there, and the way we're thinking about it is just get exposure to the developer ecosystem, right? So we want more developers to play with this technology, to build solution for us that works for us, right? And the way to do it is just bring the conversation there. And I'm excited about Cape Verde because geographically we're very well positioned. It's funny because the reason why this is my first time in a crypto conference is because I used to live in China for a very long time. There was always an issue with getting the visa to go to countries where conversations were happening about crypto, right? And I feel like it is time for us to decentralize that access to conversation, and this is the goal, right? Just bring conference and open the doors for more communities to get involved. So that's one project I'm excited about that involves directly with crypto in Cape Verde. I think it's just solutions around that. I think yes.
Well, I got that. You're saying you want to do a conference there. I think that's brilliant. I agree. Like, I think I went to Oasis Onchain last month in Nassau, I guess, into January now. It's not last month, but what's it called? I thought that was super dope to see like local people, what they were thinking about technology, and I realized, I'm part of their like crypto journey now, and I'm just kind of here on my own journey. So I think it's cool to see how things overlap. And I'm just looking forward to your conference. I'll definitely be there.
It's interesting because so I was in Cape Verde for a while now, like after moving to China for 4 or 5 months or so. And most of my conversations actually are with high school students about crypto. And I think the way crypto exposed me to other adjacent areas is something that I find it fascinating, right? So I start thinking about like privacy, about finance, about what is really money, right? And all this like cryptology, all this sort of like things that make crypto what it is today. So yeah, trying to bring conversations to like young people as well, I think is extremely important. And it's a work as well that I'm excited to do back home. Even though I don't live there, there was a platform that I can make sure like it's reaching to those communities. But yeah,
Yeah, and I think young people are trying to figure out what their whole lives is going to look like. You have to make money, you have to get a job. Like, where do I want to work? And I think, like you were saying, community I think is such a core component in
Yeah.
Web3, and I feel like in so many work environments that's not the case. Like how you actually feel is like not the most significant thing.
Yeah,
And I feel like the Web3 is more vibe centric, and like when I say that, I feel like it's more like there is a sentiment that like the sentiments matter.
yeah. We had this saying in DAO for a very long time, where it's like 2021 was the year of a DAO. Like we always picture a future where like everything is a DAO, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a problem where like people used to say like DAOs are basically running on vibes, right? And it was such a negative thing to say. It's like, but I think there's a world now where we do have like technology to onboard the next set of users to Web3, right? And I think vibes 50% of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like build something people want, right? Um, it's a useful product that solves real life a specific set of problems, but also incorporate like the culture, the community, the vibes, and without that it's just technology sort of like solution. Anyone can build that, right? So how do we think about and diversity is extremely important when you try to see that future, right?
Yeah, because
So
culture is so
yeah,
relative.
yeah. So we need everything that sort of like different perspective to make it a place that it feel more like welcome, but also it's not biased towards specific things, right? So yeah, I'm excited. Like, definitely community, definitely culture, but also I think it's important to build great products too. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Well, once again, I really appreciate you
I
joining
appreciate it.
us,
Yeah,
bringing your expertise to my community, bringing your
yeah,
stories
yeah,
to my
yeah,
community.
yeah,
And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful rest of ETH
yeah,
Denver. If you have any final words, you want to shout out like social, anything like that, you're welcome
yeah.
to shout out anything you'd like to the audience.
Yeah. So I'm very active on Farcaster. I ship a lot of products there. If any of you that is sort of like watching this, if you're interested in sort of experimenting um, with some of the ideas that we're sort of shipping, but if you sort of like, yeah, it's okay, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
perfect.
So yeah, just hit me up on Farcaster at Carlos. Happy to chat there and just connect and yeah, build amazing things going forward. Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely reach out. I feel
Yeah.
like having conversations is the way to move whatever you're trying to do forward.
Yeah.
So reach out to us, reach out to him, reach out to everybody who's on your mind. And if people get back to you, then you have a conversation to be had.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning into this content. We're here doing this project at ETH Denver, highlighting people of color, Black people when we can.
Yeah.
Really just trying to, bring people into the conversation. So thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you on the Discord or online soon.
Yeah. Shout out with the media.
Shout
Yeah.
out We the Media. Peace.
Awesome.